Okay guys, so we've looked at vlookup and hlookup, but it has a weakness. The weakness with vlookup is that it can only reference off to the right. It can only look to the right, meaning that if you're going to try and find information, say from last name to first name, where you're telling it to look for the last name and then report the first name, it can't do that. Vlookup can't look to the left. It can only look to the right. And HLOOKUP is kind of the same, where it can look down, but it can't look up. So what we need is a different formula that can look anywhere we tell it to look, and that is it's actually two different formulas. And when they're matched together quite often. So it's referred to as the index match formula, but it's a combination of two different formulas. So the first formula, what we're gonna do here is to find that information. We're gonna look back at the contact information to fill out our budget sheet here. So we've got the budget sheet, we've got last names, departments, and budgets. We've decided we want to add first names to this sheet, and to get that to work, we need to reference back and find this here. So we're going to look at last names and then report back the information just to its left. Okay. So to learn how to do this, let's talk about the two different formulas that are in it. So index is the first one. So in index, you are going to do a couple. Let's just start with the formula. Okay, so type in index, and array is where the answer is going to be found, right? So we're going to look for the first names, but the first names aren't found here. They are found back here. So we're going to tell it this is where we're going to look for the correct answer, right? And we're going to hit comma. When we come back over here, it adds this budget thing here. This is just because we're jumping around a little bit. And then how many rows down. See, index isn't doing all the magic here for us. So it wants to know how many rows down is Clark. Well, if I was back over on that page, I'd be able to tell it, but it wants to know exactly. So I'm just going to guess and say 2. I don't think that's right. And then how many columns. This is optional. That's why it's in brackets here in the formula. It's got it in these brackets. That means it's optional, because this array is a single row. We don't have to tell it how many columns. So let's go ahead and close that. And oh, wow, I was right. That was complete coincidence. So that I just accidentally did that on purpose, right? And it buzzed me. Okay, so that is how that works. If I wanted to change this to 5, then it changes the name. It goes down to the 5th one. So what we want to do is we want to replace this number, instead of just typing in a number, because again you have to just know it, and you're not going to get lucky like I just did. So we're going to use match to do that. So what match does, match returns, oops, I did it again. Match returns a number. So what match does is kind of counts. It's going to look and see, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, feral, we're looking for feral, is the 4th one down, so it's going to return a 4. Okay, so that's going to fill in that index. So let's do that. So let's do match lookup value. So that's going to be the item that you're looking for, and let's just say we're going to look for my name there, right? And then where are we going to be looking? We're going to go over here. We're going to look here, right? And we want an exact match. So 0, exact match. Close the parentheses, hit enter. I have this set as accounting. That doesn't need to be, it needs to be general. There we go. So that's returning a 4, right? So if I go up here and I replace that for, see, it's going to show me Jason, right? So it's matching up here, in this case, last name and first name. Okay, so let's put the two together and come up with our answers for our table, right? So I just made the column really big so that this doesn't get in the way of itself. Let me start with index. And the first thing we need to look at in an index is where the answers can be found. And in this case, the answers can be found back on the contact contact table under the first name column. So that's our answers. Type a little comma. And it needs to know how many rows down is it going to report. Well, we don't know that offhand, so we have to use match. Okay, so we're using the match formula. And let's go back here, and we can, it starts to auto-type that. Let's just go match, and we're going to tell it the last name. And when it has this at last name, it means it's going to last name for this column, right? Another comma, or this row rather, and then the lookup array is where are we going to look? So that's back over here. We're going to look here under IT contact names, okay, comma, and we want an exact match, so we put 0. Close parentheses, that closes the match function, and then we can close parentheses again, and that closes the index function. We hit enter, and there you go. Now we've got Salih's name here next to Clark. And we can scroll down, and ta-da! It matches everybody's name up. Go ahead and double-click that. It shrinks that column back down. So what we did was we just we did a fancy vlookup that allowed us to look to the left. It takes a little bit more work than the vlookup, but it is way more powerful and allows you to look wherever you want, left or right. And it really is the one you should be using. If you're brand new to vlookups and hlookups and you're new to index match, then why would you learn the weaker of the two? I would learn the index match way and always do the index match. That way you never have to worry about, oh wait, what was that? How was that again? Because you can do the exact same thing that a vlookup can do here. And with use and habit and learning it, you'll do it just as quickly as you would with a vlookup. All right, so hopefully that was helpful.